Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
Tavis Smiley is now ranked number 16 nationally and the highest rated talk show hosted by an African American on the 2025 Talkers Heavy 100 list of the most important talk radio hosts in the nation. Last year, Tavis ranked number 33 and the year before, number 45. The Tavis Smiley Show has rapidly expanded its national syndication to now include nearly 50 radio stations across the country and counting. Congratulations, Tavis.
Yay, yay!
Shine bright, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine bright, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting. A movement of people, it's like we dancing to the ministry of. It's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the prisons is. I was so good like this where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify when you and God in time are best aligned.
Shine bright, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine bright, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
How can I be a better father, son, a better grandson, honoring Fannie Lou's and the Fred Hamptons, the Harry?
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and White House correspondent. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or just tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. And there we are for your listening pleasure. Last but not least, subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast, and that way you'll never miss an episode. I am joining you live from our nation's capital, where the Congressional Black Caucus's annual legislative conference is just getting up to speed. A little bit later, I will share with you some insights from an on-the-record press briefing with members of the Congressional Black Caucus earlier today. But in our second hour, you can look forward to my conversation with actor Tony Goldwyn. Yes, Tony Goldwyn joins us today to talk about an exciting new project that he has launched with his daughter. As well as getting his POV on the headlines, I should say beyond the headlines. And a little bit later in this hour, you can look forward to hearing from Terrence Woodbury. Had a conversation with him recently that we want to share with you again today. Terrence Woodbury, the co-founder of Hit Strategies, a public opinion researcher with some really important insights that we should sit with and consider as we're heading into the thick of this year's Congressional Black Caucus's annual legislative conference. But now it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. And kicking us off, a tragedy in Dallas. NBC News is reporting that there's one person dead, two in critical condition after a shooting at a Dallas ICE facility. This is what we know as of now. 3 detainees were shot at an Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility in Dallas this morning. That's according to the Department of Homeland Security. We know that one person is dead and 2 others are in critical condition, according to DHS. No ICE officers were hurt, but Dallas police are saying that the victims' identities have not been publicly released. The shooter was found dead with a self-inflicted gun wound and has been identified as Joshua John. That's according to multiple senior law enforcement officials. We also know at this hour that a bullet was found near the shooter. It bore a message that were anti-ICE in nature. That's what's being reported. A bullet found near the shooter that bore a message that was anti-ICE in nature. That's according to a special agent in charge of the Dallas FBI office. The shooter fired multiple rounds from a nearby roof or in an elevated position. And the motive of what the shooter was targeting was not immediately clear. Already, Vice President J.D. Vance says that the Dallas shooting was politically motivated. The vice president said in Concord, North Carolina, that the evidence that's not yet public indicates that we know this person was politically motivated. They were politically motivated to go after law enforcement. They were politically motivated to go after people who are enforcing our borders. He also pointed blame at political rhetoric and called the suspect, quotes, a violent left-wing extremist. This is what we know as of right now. And so we'll continue to keep you posted as that story develops. In other news, what's Trump's approval rating? Well, the Gallup poll finds that Republicans are souring on the state of the United States. American satisfaction with how things are going in the U.S. has slipped to its lowest point since President Trump took office. That's according to the September Gallup poll. The poll conducted from September 2nd to the 16th found that 29% of Americans said that they are satisfied. Only 29%. And Republicans, for most of the decline, from 31% in August. That's according to Gallup. The satisfaction rate is still higher than the 20% in January before Trump's inauguration. The murder of conservative activist Charlie Kirk occurred as the poll was being taken, and Gallup found that it weighed on Americans' opinions, especially for Republicans. When asked about the most important problem facing this country, mentions of crime or violence have more than doubled over the past month, rising from 3% in August to 8% in September, the highest level since August 2020. And before that, 2002, the crime mentions increased mostly after September 10th, the day Kirk was shot in front of thousands of Utah Valley University students at that speaking event. National unity was also found by Gallup to be a growing concern, mentioning that the highest rates since January 2001 following the riots at the U.S. Capitol. And so Americans are not happy. Americans are sour, including Republicans. We are almost a year away from the midterm election. It's one opportunity for folks to register their discontent, their displeasure with the state of our politics. But in a number of states, people don't have to wait till next year. If you're living in places like New Jersey and Virginia, and anywhere that's having any sort of special election, you get to weigh in this November. And it will be a bellwether of sorts in terms of how the country may vote next November. And so here on this show, we encourage folks to show up at every election, not just in presidential years, not just in midterm years. Every election counts. Every election counts. And speaking of elections, Gavin Newsom fears that there won't be one, that there won't be a presidential election in 2028. The California governor said he's worried that there won't be a presidential election in a little more than 3 years, calling the Trump administration's actions authoritarian. He said, quotes, "I fear that we will not have an election in 2028. I really mean that in the core of my soul, unless we wake up to the code red what's happening in this country and we wake up soberly to how serious this moment is. That's what Governor Newsom said during an appearance on The Late Show with Steve Colbert just last night. One of the Democratic Party's most forceful critics of President Trump and prospective candidate for the next White House race, Newsom blasted the Republican administration for taking, quote, authoritarian actions amid a nationwide immigration enforcement crackdown. And so, look, Governor Newsom not mincing words and being pretty consistent on what he has said in recent months. Finally, the New York Times is reporting that House lawmakers have crossed a threshold to force an Epstein file vote. This is where things stand right now. Lawmakers in the House, they appear on track to be able to force a vote to demand that the Trump administration release investigative files on Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier and one-time friend of the president. Yeah, that Jeffrey Epstein. A newly elected Arizona Democrat, Adelita Grijalva, has promised to provide the 218th and last needed signature to force the vote. The effort could falter if any of the three Republicans who've signed on withdraw. Top Democrats are investigating whether law firms that cut deals with President Trump to do pro bono work for causes that he champions are illegally providing free legal work for his administration. Representative Jamie Raskin and Senator Adam Schiff and Richard Blumenthal, they all sent letters to the firm saying that the administration's coercion of your law firm may be ongoing and escalating. And so these are some stories coming out of the nation's capital today. They are the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. You get to decide which is which. But when we come forward, we'll be joined with Terrence Woodbury. He's a public opinion researcher and co-founder of HIT Strategies. I'm sharing with you a conversation I had with him recently that I think sheds a light on a lot of food for thought as we are cruising into the thick of this year's Congressional Black Caucus annual legislative conference. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Dude, did you order the new iPhone 17 Pro? Got it from Verizon, the best 5G network in America. I've never looked so good.
You look the same.
But with this camera, everything looks better, especially me.
You haven't changed your hair in 15 years. Selfies? Check, please.
New and existing customers can get the new iPhone 17 Pro, designed to be the most powerful iPhone ever. With eligible phone trade-in and unlimited ultimate. Any condition guaranteed. Best 5G source root metrics data, United States, 1H 2025. All rights reserved. Trade-in and additional terms apply for all offers. See Verizon.com for details.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right. Y'all gotta try that Febreze car. Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency on low Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah, breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. Let's preserve Black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from Black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, Black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Loss Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of Black land loss before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling Black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic Black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandloss.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
Hit me! National news, the consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and it's always so much more fun when your friends come to join you on air. Terrence Woodbury, who is the co-founder and partner over at HIT Strategies. They're one of the fastest growing polling and public opinion research firms in the country, specializing in millennials, Black and brown folks, and beyond. And we're just delighted to have you here with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Doctor. It's always fun when it's with friends.
It's always it's always fun with friends. That is true. That is true. Well, listen, I'm so glad that you're here because there are so many political headlines that are swirling just this day alone. And you're always able to bring some really important insights to bear to separate the facts from the fiction. A lot shaping the political landscape today, particularly here in California, where LA Mayor Karen Bass has endorsed former LA Mayor, former Assembly Speaker Antonio Villaraigosa for mayor of Los Angeles. Help me understand how this endorsement may help or hurt Mayor Bass, who is in a fight for her own reelection.
Yeah, California voters have been dealing with a onslaught of kind of traumatic events, from being invaded and occupied by the federal government, wildfires, and ongoing crises with homelessness and poverty that is, striking places like LA and San Francisco more harder than they are anywhere else in the country. And so I am interested to see how she positions this endorsement. I believe that now that the vice president has announced that she would not be seeking the gubernatorial election in California, that this race is wide open. I expect several candidates to enter this race. And I suspect that the current mayor of Los Angeles endorsing the former mayor of Los Angeles will not be the biggest surprise to many people. But I'm curious to see how it's going to be able to help how the coattails of that will help her or him.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that at least we've seen in a statement put out by Mayor Bass, saying that she's known Antonio and worked with him her entire adult life. Saying that she has seen up close the impact that he's made, not just on our city, but for our entire state. And also mentioned that our country's at a crossroads, and it's vital that our state have a leader who will lead California into the future. I just want to zoom in on that piece of leading California into the future. You know better than most that there are a number of voters out there that are sort of tired of the same old names, the same old, politicians hopping from office to office. So many young Democrats and independent voters looking for a changing of the guard, a passing of the torch. Does this endorsement from Mayor Bass of former Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, does it fall short of that?
We are in a change electorate that voters are seeking something different, seeking something new, seeking something innovative. And one thing that I've been in trying to portray to my Democratic colleagues and clients that we work with is that voters are very angry right now. They went from despair to fear to outrage, and they're not just outraged with Donald Trump. They're not just outraged with Republicans. They're outraged with the Democrats that they've been voting for over and over that they do not believe have changed their material conditions. Now, I think that that Democrats have been doing great work in places like Los Angeles, California, and even under the Biden-Harris administration. But passing good policies does not always equal good politics. And so it is incumbent upon Democrats to demonstrate that they not only have the stamina to combat, to fight back, and to resist against the federal government, but being the opposition party, being the alternative requires presenting an alternative, presenting a different way forward, not just saying, no, we don't want what the White House is doing. Yes, we want to resist to what Donald Trump is imposing, but that we also have an alternative. I don't think that the voters of California are that frustrated with the direction of the state. They are. We know that Gavin Newsom has a pretty high approval rating, but we also know that those things aren't transferable. He can't transfer his approval rating to Antonio the same way Karen Bass can't transfer her voters to Antonio. And so he's still going to have to make a case to the people of California. And frankly, the governor of California is a national figure. And so he's going to be making that case to the country as well.
As much as we're here talking about the latest political headline with Mayor Karen Bass of Los Angeles endorsing former mayor of LA, Antonio Villaraigosa, for governor of California, there are other candidates in the race. Former Representative Katie Porter of Irvine, the former U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra, the former State Senate Pro Tem Tony Atkins, and there's even a brother in the race, State Superintendent of Public Instruction Tony Thurmond in the race. But don't play small. The Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco and conservative commentator Steve Hilton. To a lot of folks, it looks like there's not a clear front runner. Should that make California voters, should that make Democrats across the country a little nervous, given how elite the role of governor of California is in the Democratic Party?
I mean, this is why we saw the vice president being so heavily lobbied to jump into this race, because I believe that states and governors are the last line of resistance, are the last line of defense against a arguably fascist federal government. And a state like California plays an outsized role in resisting. We've seen Governor Newsom embrace that role as the leader of the resistance. I'm in focus groups almost every night, doctor, and I ask Democratic voters every night, who is fighting for you? Across the country, I ask this question. And Gavin Newsom is one of the few names that we hear often mentioned. And so I do think the country is looking for that type of leadership in California, but the country isn't voting for the governor of California. Only the voters of California are. And for folks that are not tuning in from Los Angeles or from California, that may not know that California has what they call a jungle primary, a top two primary. That means that whoever the top two vote getters are, whether the Democrats or Republicans, advance to a runoff. Because of the dynamics of the race, where there are several qualified, well-funded Democrats, I suspect that there will be a Republican that will likely make it into a runoff. And so all of these qualified Democrats are all running for one spot. I've run against Katie Porter. I was a pollster for Mayor Barbara Lee when she was running for U.S. Senate in California. I ran against Katie Porter, and while she was not successful in that race, she is a formidable candidate. I suspect that she will rise to front runner status. I think it's far too early to predict who will win, but Katie Porter will be one of the front runners, and we'll see if Mayor Karen Bass's endorsement can help propel former Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa into that front runner status as well.
I just want to double click on your mention of the high likelihood that a Republican may very well make it into the top two in the California jungle primary. Keep in mind that President Trump is sitting on nearly $1 billion
nearly $1 billion in campaign funds. And he has pledged to use all of it to not just protect Republicans that are loyal to him, but to really sort of run the board across the country. And so Democrats don't underestimate that.
And one thing I would add to that can't go unmentioned in this moment of California politics is the California ballot measure for redistricting that is on the ballot on November 4th in just under 90 days. That Donald Trump is going to land Air Force One in California to protest against redistricting. He and the Republicans that spend in this race are going to use this opportunity not just to defeat redistricting in California, but to define the body politic of California, to define Governor Newsom as tyrannical, as out of step with the voters of California. And so the gubernatorial race, while it starts in earnest with these types of endorsements from Mayor Karen Bass, it also starts with about $100 million that's about to be spent on a redistricting ballot measure in the next 90 days.
Speaking of Donald Trump, The Guardian is reporting that Democrats are needling Trump over the Epstein birthday book letter that he denied existed. House Democrats, they have needled Trump and Republicans yesterday after they obtained and released a copy of a birthday scrapbook for Jeffrey Epstein, which included vulgar and a sexual letter. Trump has denied sending the convicted sex offender. Are Democrats wise to needle the president on all the issues related to Epstein, or are Democrats putting a bit too much on Epstein, an issue that may not appeal to the slice of voters that they need to show up, not just this November, but next November in mass?
Well, look, first, I think it is important to note that it is incumbent on Democrats to seek justice for the victims of Epstein, and that is not only the morally right thing to do and the ethically right thing to do. I believe that it's also politically expedient to continue to talk about Donald Trump's potential involvement in trafficking allegations, but most important, in his current involvement in covering it up. This is a cover-up facilitated by the federal government, by the director of the Justice Department, by intelligence agencies that have information that the American public is entitled to. And look, it is politically expedient to sometimes use your opponent's weapons against them. One thing that Donald Trump has weaponized more than anyone that I've ever seen in politics is conspiracy theory. He's weaponized them against his own party, against his own some current members of his own cabinet. And Malcolm X used to say, sometimes the chickens come home to roost. And so the conspiracy theorists that have undergirded, that have been the foundation of the MAGA movement, now have questions about their fearless leader. They have questions about his involvement, and more importantly, they have questions about his cover-up. And I think it is incumbent upon Democrats to continue to raise those questions, not only because the American public deserve answers, but because any opportunity that we have to break his dominance of the media narrative, we have to seize those opportunities.
And this being a tremendous opportunity, the White
House. Eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. 2 people are dead and 1 is critically injured after a shooting at a Dallas, Texas ICE facility. Black Mayor Eric Johnson called for prayers as officials confirmed the gunman, 29-year-old Joshua John, died from a self-inflicted wound.
We're a country and a city that needs prayer.
The FBI is investigating it as targeted violence. Former Vice President Kamala Harris is in New York tonight, kicking off a 15-city tour for her new memoir, 107 Days. The book recounts her brief 2024 presidential run, blasting Joe Biden's re-election bid as a reckless mistake. And Black singer David says his anime alter ego inspired his hit Romantic Homicide. Fans linked the video's ghostly woman to Celeste Rivas, later found dead in his car, but police say there's no evidence connecting him to her murder. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Hawthorne 105 eastbound delays leaving the 405 and stretches to the 605. North 605 delays out of Norwalk from the 105 freeway all the way to the 10. Pasadena eastbound side of the 210. That's slowing from Mountain. Delays in stretches all the way to Foothill Boulevard. Very tough in the Cajon Pass. 15 northbound loading up at the 210 all the way to Cleghorn.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart. Uh-oh. She's looking at the cigarettes, but she just grabs the gum off the counter. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer. Go to takeahealthystand.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Two of the 5 African-American head coaches in the NFL are still looking for their first win of the season. Aaron Glenn of the New York Jets and D'Amico Ryan of the Houston Texans are 0-3. Glenn is in his first season with the Jets. Houston's slow start is a surprise. Ryan had Houston in the semifinals last season in the AFC playoffs. Houston is at home Sunday against Tennessee. The Jets are at Miami on Sunday. Tampa Bay coach Todd Bowles is the only one of the 5 who was undefeated after week 3. The Bucs are at home Sunday against the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. Major props to University of South Carolina women's basketball coach Dawn Staley. The 3-time national champion coach included 2 HBCU teams on her schedule for this season. A home game against North Carolina Central on December 7th and a road game at Coppin State in Baltimore on January 18th. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
Tavis Smiley is now ranked number 16 nationally and the highest rated talk show hosted by an African American on the 2025 Talkers Heavy 100 list of the most important talk radio hosts in the nation. Last year, Tavis ranked number 33 and the year before, number 45. The Tavis Smiley Show has rapidly expanded its national syndication to now include nearly 50 radio stations across the country and counting. Congratulations, Tavis.
Yay!
So many things, big and little, make you uniquely you, your hobbies, dreams, career, family, and more. Addiction to drugs, including opioids and stimulants, can strip these away from you. Recover your life. Choose treatment for drug addiction and get back to what matters most. Find a provider and proven treatment option that's right for you at ChooseChangeCA.org. Recover you.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
comfortable with the fact that House and Senate leadership hasn't really come out and endorsed Moran Zamdani for New York mayor, somebody who has won the Democratic nomination through a very complicated process. What's the value of getting the Democratic nomination if the Democratic establishment is running from endorsing you?
I have been imploring Democratic leadership in Washington to not just be the minority party, but to be the opposition party. Minority party waits until they become the majority. They wait to get 3 more seats. They wait to get 50+1 votes in the Senate. Opposition parties have to do more than that. I've had the opportunity to work in parliamentary governments around the world. And there is always, in every parliamentary government, an opposition party that stands up a shadow government. So there's a shadow minister of education to tell us whatever the hell Secretary WWE is doing over there, a shadow attorney general to tell us what Attorney General Bundy is hiding from us, a shadow secretary of state to inform the public about how Secretary Rubio is undermining our diplomatic relationships on the world stage, how he is compromising our global position. And most important, what that shadow government does is sheds light on the dark areas that the Trump administration doesn't want us to see, but it begins to present an alternative. Here's what we would be doing as Secretary of State. Here's what we would be doing as Secretary of Education. I've implored Democrats in Washington to take this approach because that is not my opinion, doctor. That is what the voters that I talk to every day are demanding. They not only want to see us fight back, they want to see our plan. What the hell are you going to do if we give you this gavel, if we give you this chamber? And that is, I think that's what campaigns are for, but we have an opportunity to start that now and not, during the election season next year.
I always like to say, what's the purpose of power if we don't use it? No doubt that President Trump and Republicans are using every ounce of power that they have. When we come forward, I want to move to Georgia, where there are a few headlines that are popping up in Georgia related to the Hyundai battery factory raid. Remember that? And also, it takes a proud HBCU alum to decode what this Trump era might mean for Black students who are flocking to HBCU. And that was not coordinated. For the people who are streaming, he's wearing his Morehouse College hat proudly. More with Terrence Woodbury, co-founder of HIT Strategies, one of our nation's foremost political and public opinion research firms. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We're here with Terrence Woodbury, co-founder of HIT Strategies, one of America's leading public opinion research firms. Terrence, you know the Georgia terrain very, very well. You are a very proud Morehouse alumni. You've lived in Georgia for years. And we talk a lot about how as goes California, as goes the nation. But in recent years, as goes Georgia, as goes something. And so one of the big headlines that folks aren't talking nearly enough about is, as reported by USA Today, how a Hyundai battery factory raid, what it reveals about a new Trump target, employers who hire illegal workers. For folks who are less familiar, behind the shocking side of hundreds of South Korean workers being chained and detained at a Georgia battery factory is Trump's latest target, companies that hire illegal workers. While the president has launched sweeping immigration raids on a promise to deliver the largest mass deportation in history, administration officials are also taking a harder line against employers they say cheat American workers by hiring undocumented immigrants. E-Verify has been an issue that Democrats and Republicans have sparred over for decades. What makes this incident in Georgia a little bit different than conversations around E-Verify in recent years?
Well, first, let me just put. First of all, I'm in Georgia right now. I believe it is the single most important battleground state in America for the Senate map, for the congressional map, for the presidential map, and it's going to become even more so after 2030 redistricting. 2030 census reapportions at least one or two more congressional seats and one or two more electoral seats here in Georgia. So this is ground zero, not just in 2026, but beyond. And so what does this story mean for the state of Georgia and for the country? I think, it is not lost on me that a part of what is making Georgia emerge as a battleground is the overwhelming power and influence of Black voters in Georgia. That Black voters make up over half of the Democratic electorate here, that they recognize their political power, and they have used that political power to deliver the White House to Joe Biden, to deliver a Black man in Reverend Warnock to the Senate, and a young millennial in John Ossoff, who they must reelect here in 2026. But notably, Black voters also have concerns about illegal immigrants taking jobs that could and should go to their communities. How do I know that? Again, this is not my opinion. It's the opinion of the voters I talk to. And so when I conduct polling and discover that 64% of Black voters believe that advancements in immigrant communities often come at the expense of the Black community, well, that is what I hear when I hear the president say, they're taking your Black jobs. He's talking about Hyundai. And he's showing Black voters in Georgia, I'm going to stand up for you. And so Democrats, while we must fight for the humanity and the rights of immigrants, we also must fight to hold companies accountable. I believe that the best way for Democrats to do that is not by punishing the workers that are making below minimum wage, it's by punishing the companies and the corporations that are taking advantage of immigrant labor. And I think the Democrats are going to have to take a very bold stance here to demonstrate to not just Black voters, but to working class voters across the country, that we will stand up to companies that exploit labor and take advantage of immigrants. But notably, Nii-Quartelai, I also think this is an opportunity for us to shift the conversation, because Donald Trump wants us to believe that our problems and our pain is because of someone that makes less than minimum wage at Hyundai. Our problems and our pain is not because of the people that have much less than us. It's because of the people that have way too damn much, that are willing to take from us so that they can have even more. That's what we saw Elon Musk doing when he was doging our federal government. That's what we saw this big, ugly bill do when they cut student lunches, when they cut lunches and Medicaid for poor kids to give billionaires tax cuts. And so Democrats have to address this issue, but also use it to pivot the conversation to the real problem. And it's not the people that are making under minimum wage.
Are Democrats losing their grip on the working class, losing their grip on union workers? Look, since January, the Trump administration, they've targeted workers at raids, California car washes, marijuana farms, Louisiana racetracks, a Florida construction site, and a Nebraska meatpacking plant, all while those enforcement actions, they haven't translated into criminal cases or fines against employers. But the raids themselves, in some cases, they significantly disrupted that business operation. And so we're seeing the political theater that makes it appear as if, Trump is holding everybody accountable, both workers and employers. We know that that's not true, but clearly Democrats don't have a message, let alone any compelling message that connects those dots to voters. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, this is, again, I believe that many of the Democratic Party are looking forward to engaging this debate in the upcoming 2026 campaign. Based on the voters I'm talking to in focus groups in 2025, prior to the 2026 election, they expect to see Democrats engage in this debate now. And not just to oppose or fight back or resist, but to offer an alternative. How is the world better if you are in charge? How is my state better if a Democrat replaces Brian Kemp? How is the country better if we keep Raphael Warnock and we keep John Ossoff in the U.S. Senate and deliver majority? Those are questions that we still have to answer to the American people, and not just the Democrats. We have to answer the American people how your life is better when Democrats are in charge. And that requires more than just resisting.
Speaking of resisting, Terrence, you might have read Ezra Klein's op-ed this weekend in the New York Times. It's gone viral. There are a lot of folks that are talking about this op-ed where Ezra Klein makes the case that so many of us, have talked about behind the scenes, which is Democrats' leverage points in a Congress that they don't control. Well, at the end of this month, they have an opportunity to really leverage one of those points. I'm talking about shutting the government down. Democrats don't have a lot of options, but the end of this month, the continuing resolution to fund government, it ends. And there are a lot of folks calling on Democrats to do the hard thing and shut the government down. What are you seeing in your public opinion research that suggests that Democrats on Capitol Hill should or should not shut the government down?
Yeah, Dr. Nay, this is a mixed bag, right? Because there are some Democrats who say fight like hell with every tool in your toolbox. Fight like hell, shut it down, filibuster, whatever it go to jail, protest, resist, whatever it takes to disrupt what they consider attacks against American freedoms. But there are other Democrats who do want to protect the institutions that they believe make up the American body politic. Institutions like the Congress and the Senate, and I think that it is incumbent upon Democrats, similar to what we see Gavin Newsom doing in California, to fight by the rules that are being set by Republicans, but also to point towards a world where these rules are changed under Democratic leadership. So the same thing I'm telling Democratic leaders about redistricting, we have to explain why we must engage in this highly undemocratic practice to fight for our democracy. But we also have to explain that under Democratic control, there'll be a national redistricting commission so that states can't pick their voters anymore. There will be, get big money out of politics, and the type of government reforms that demonstrate to the American people that while we must win on this terrain, there's a better terrain if we can forge ahead.
Would shutting the government down help Democrats to get the public's attention? Should Democrats on Capitol Hill shut the government down, stop funding Trump's government?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I'm very careful in these positions, Doctor, not to give my opinion, but to give the opinion of the voters I talk to. And I haven't asked that question explicitly yet, but I can deduce from what they've been telling me that while they do want to see Democrats using all the tools in their toolbox, they're going to need an explanation. Why? Because this is going to cause pain. And it ain't just going to cause pain for Republicans. And it ain't just going to cause pain for Washington. And so if Democrats pull this nuclear option, they are going to have to explain to the American people, we are using this lever in order to achieve this outcome. And when we are in charge, here's how it will be better. That last part is so critical. When we are in charge, here's how the world will be different.
Well, Terrence, in our remaining minutes, again, the Georgia terrain very well. We know national terrain very well, and certain international terrains very well. But I want to go back to where so much of your genius sort of took flight, and that was at the distinguished HBCU Morehouse College. As The Guardian is reporting, in the Trump era, Black students are flocking to HBCUs where their history isn't being erased. That's what the Spelman College president, at least, is saying in a new book that she's published. Talk to us about whether or not you think that is going to hold true. Look, this president, this administration, they haven't been shy about going after any college or any university. I've certainly talked to HBCU leaders who behind the scenes are sort of bracing for impact. Talk to us about, what's at stake, if we the people, don't stand up and protect Black institutions, including but not limited to HBCUs?
Yeah, first I just want to commend a mentor and a role model of mine, President Roz Brewer at Spelman, for the voice and the leadership that she's demonstrated at Spelman and in our community more broadly. And I, as a product of an HBCU, as parents who are products of HBCUs, a part of what we see here is the integrity of institutions that are not kowtowing to the federal government, that are not compromising our principles, our values to appease a tyrant in chief. Look, frankly, many HBCUs, especially Morehouse and Spelman, are private institutions that don't get the luxury of a whole lot of federal funding. We have to endow ourselves. We have to raise this money, and we have to unfortunately charge pretty high tuitions, which I'm still paying back 20 years later. I think that we have seen not only HBCUs, but HBCU alumni like Jamal Bryant, like Pastor Jamal Bryant here in Atlanta, like Pastor Otis Moss of Trinity Baptist Church in Chicago, that are using their platforms to organize, to fundraise, to protect our institutions like the African American Smithsonian, like HBCUs, but also to send a signal and a message to institutions that do not protect us, like Target, that our buying power, that our political power, and that our collective power will not be ignored. And this pendulum will swing back. Black voters will still be the biggest consumers in America, and we will remember our friends, and we will remember those that did not stand with us.
All right, mic drop. Mic drop. Our thanks to Terrence Woodbury. He is the co-founder of HIT Strategies. He is one of the foremost public opinion researchers in the United States today, a proud Morehouse man. And just as he's a product of HBCU, so am I. I didn't go to an HBCU, but my mom and dad met in an HBCU, right? And so I just want to connect the dots and help people understand, how much talent that is connected to community that HBCUs produce, whether you attended one or your parents or your grandparents attended one. HBCUs are worth protecting. My thanks to Terrence Woodbury. You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least liked to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Hello, KBLA delegation. Tavish Smiley here. On Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech becomes the epicenter of ideas that matter. The Left Coast Forum is bringing together voices that challenge, inspire, and illuminate, with keynote presentations from people like noted economist Richard Wolff, the man who breaks down capitalism in ways that make sense to working folk like you and me, and Dr. Cornel West will be there, the brilliant philosopher and activist who never stops fighting for justice and speaking truth to power and to the powerless, for that matter. So this isn't just another conference. This is where ideas get tested, where the conversations that shape our future begin. Multiple plenary sessions, dynamic speakers, real talk about the issues that impact our communities, and then some good food and a live band. Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech, Left Coast Farm. The event is free and open to the public, but you must register at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can also peep the plenary topics. The future belongs to those who show up and engage. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and it's time for the quiet part out loud. Listen, this is all you need to hear. Courier News is reporting that Republicans have introduced a bill to put Charlie Kirk on U.S. currency alongside the founding fathers. This news being reported within the past couple hours. Representative August Pfluger, a Republican of Texas, and Representative Abe Hamada, a Republican from Arizona, are introducing a bill to put Charlie Kirk on a limited edition silver dollar. The coin would feature the words, you ready? Well done, good and faithful servant. That's the news coming out of our nation's capital today. When we come forward in our next hour, you don't want to miss my interview with Hollywood royalty, Tony Goldwyn. Yes, President Fitzgerald Grant from the hit show Scandal. He's working on so many different projects. It's going to make your head spin. You don't want to miss my conversation with him when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Florida is offering $60 million in Cancer Innovation Fund grants.
We are baking in an environment of abnormality.